Hello everyone, how's it going, and welcome to today's Wild Rift video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about Heartsteel, one of the brand new items that came to Wild Rift in patch 5.0. I'm going to be going over the item itself, going over the description, the passive, and explaining to you how the item works. And then I'm going to show you 3 champions that work best with Heartsteel. I'm going to show you the build for all these champions, how the champion interacts with Heartsteel, and how it's such a great item. So first off, let's talk about Heartsteel as an item. Heartsteel is a tank item in Wild Rift. It's an item that gives you 700 maximum health, a little bit of health regeneration, and also a bit of ability haste. It's a fairly cheap item that you normally want to build as a first item, and that is because of the colossal consumption passive. While within 700 units of an enemy champion, the item charges for 2.5 seconds before dealing a huge strike against the enemy champion. Now, 700 units means that this can also work on ranged champions. I've been seeing players build Heartsteel on champions like Swain, which can be very, very good. But this works best with melee champions because you'll be able to proc this passive very, very easily throughout the game. Being charged for 2.5 seconds means you need to stay within that 700 range for 2.5 seconds. There is a little indicator that comes up on the enemy champion, and when that indicator and the sound is finished, you'll be able to walk up, auto attack that champion, and deal a bunch of extra damage and gain health. And that's explained in the next part of the passive. So this charge attack deals a bonus physical damage equal to 120 base plus 5% of the maximum health, and grants maximum health equal to 15% of the damage dealt. So every single time that you auto attack a champion that has the fully stacked Heartsteel passive on that champion, you'll be gaining maximum health depending on how much damage you deal. This means that it works best on tanks because you'll be able to stack so much health with Heartsteel throughout the game because you'll be able to walk up, auto attack champions, proc the Heartsteel passive, and be able to stack maximum health, which makes you into a super tank. Now, the first champion I want to talk about with Heartsteel is Dr. Mundo. Dr. Mundo has been crazy strong ever since the release of Heartsteel, and he's just getting stronger and stronger with the amount of buffs that Heartsteel is also getting. Dr. Mundo is a champion that works great with maximum health since he has so much healing in his kit. His second ability has a bunch of healing, and also his ultimate. So when you do get low on health, things like his ultimate and also his second ability allows him to heal up so much health, and that health is going to be increased because of the amount of stacks that we are able to get with Heartsteel. This also works great with items like Titanic Hydra, which you also build on Dr. Mundo, which you'll be able to stack a lot of maximum health, which gives Dr. Mundo more attack damage. Even though Dr. Mundo doesn't normally build attack damage, he still does a lot of damage and he still does auto attack a lot. So every time that you're stacking health with Heartsteel, you'll be able to get more damage for Titanic Hydra. As for the rest of the build with Dr. Mundo, for the boots, you either want to go for the armor boots or magic resist boots, depends on the situation of the game. Then after you build the likes of Heartsteel and also Titanic Hydra, you then want to go for Spirit Visage. This item will help you increase your healing on both your ultimate and also your second ability. Mantle of 12 Hour means that you'll be able to gain a little bit of extra maximum health when you do drop low on health. And Twin Guard gives you a lot of great tank stats. We have a lot of health being built in this build. We don't have a lot of resistance. That's where Twin Guard comes in, that we'll be able to get a lot of armor and a lot of magic resist and be a really big tank when we proc the passive. And one of the main reasons why Heartsteel works so great for tanks and for Dr. Mundo in general is also because of the runes. Grasp of the Undying also gives you maximum health throughout the game every single time that you proc the passive for Grasp of the Undying. For the other runes, Nullifying Orb, Second Wind, both really good. Also, we have Overgrowth, again another rune that allows us to stack maximum health, giving us more damage and more maximum health through the item Heartsteel. And as for the secondary rune, we have Demolish. Demolish scales really well with maximum health. The more maximum health you have, the more damage that Demolish is going to be able to deal. So that means that you'll be able to walk up to towers, take a lot of early tower plates, and even look to try and split push later on in the game. And for the summoner spells, we have Flash and Ignite. We don't really need any defensive summoner spells. We want to play aggressive. We want to take Ignite because you'll be very surprised how much damage Dr. Mundo can deal after he builds items like Heartsteel and Titanic Hydra. The next champion that works incredibly well with Heartsteel is Sett. Now, Sett is normally built as a bruiser. You normally want to build him with items like Black Cleaver, Divine Sunderer, build him with Conqueror, because he can deal a lot of damage and he does a lot of damage with all of his abilities. But since the addition of Heartsteel and Titanic Hydra, this has been the go-to champion for the Baron lane ever since the new patch. And that's because Sett already can deal a lot of damage by itself, and you can build the bruiser items a little bit later on down the line. But the one big thing is that you can now build him as a tank and get more damage for his second ability, Haymaker. Sett's second ability, Haymaker, allows him to store grit, and the amount of grit that he can store depends on his maximum health. The more maximum health you have, the more grit that you're able to store. And the more grit that you store means that you'll be able to deal more damage with Haymaker. And that is why players are building Sett more as a tank with a lot of maximum health, so they can store more grit and deal more damage with the second ability, Haymaker. And that is exactly what we go for in the builds. Again, for the boots, you can go for armor boots or magic resist boots, depending on the situation of the game. We have Heartsteel and Titanic Hydra, the same combo with Dr. Mundo. Sett is a champion that benefits a lot more from attack damage because his abilities work a lot better with attack damage, so it has a great synergy with Sett. But as you can see a little bit later on down the line, we still want to build items like Black Cleaver to reduce the armor of enemy champions, Sterox Gauge to give us that lifeline passive shield, and also Twin Guard at the end. Again, because we don't have any resistances in this build, we just have a lot of maximum health, we can get that little bit of extra resistance at the end of the builds. And the exact same with Dr. Mundo is that for the runes, we also want to go for runes that benefit most with Heartsteel. Grasp of the Undying, incredibly strong, that allows you to stack maximum health. Courage of the Colossus is really good for Sett because you have plenty of abilities that you're able to impair the movement of enemy champions, especially with your third ability, so you can get a little bit of a shield. Second Wind for the healing. Overgrowth again to stack maximum health, which will give us more damage for Heartsteel and also Titanic Hydra. And Brutal for the extra auto attack damage, because with Sett, with his first ability, he can deal 4 auto attacks in a very short amount of time if you're able to juggle the auto attack reset. And as for summoner spells, we do have the Flash and Ignite combo again. Very aggressive combo because we're building a lot of tank stats on Sett. We don't really need too much in terms of defensive stats with summoner spells. And lastly, the champion that I want to talk about with Heartsteel is Ornn. Now, Ornn is everyone's favorite tank. He's not only a tank, but he can also deal damage. He also has crowd control. He's a champion that has it all. He doesn't benefit too much from Titanic Hydra, so it's going to be a bit different than the other 2 champions that I've recommended, but Heartsteel is still incredibly strong for Ornn. Now, another big reason why Heartsteel can be very beneficial for Ornn is because Ornn can craft items out of the base. He's able to build items before anyone else, which means that you have the opportunity to build Heartsteel without going back to base, which means you can proc it more often, you can gain more maximum health, and you can be a really unkillable tank even in the early game. Again, for the build, it looks very similar. The boots, you either go for armor or magic resist boots. We have Heartsteel as the first item, but again, we're not going for Titanic Hydra because we don't really auto attack too much for Ornn. We auto attack sometimes to proc the passive, the brittle passive, but nothing really else really benefits for Titanic Hydra. So we just build Ornn as a full tank, making him completely unkillable. Sunfire Aegis is really good because we're always going to be in the face of enemy champions, whether that's dashing in to try and knock them up, whether it's trying to use our second ability to proc the brittle passive. And then we've got items like Warmogs, Thormail, and also Twin Guard. Again, full tank items that allow us to deal more damage with Heartsteel, because the more health you have with Heartsteel, the more damage that you're able to deal. And as for the runes, again, very similar to the previous 2. It's pretty much the go-to in terms of runes with Heartsteel. I wouldn't build Heartsteel if you're not going for Resolve Tree and if you're not going for Grasping Undying, because the benefit that you get from Grasping Undying and also Overgrowth means that you'll just be more tankier, deal more damage, and that's the best thing about Heartsteel. We also have Courage of the Colossus, which works really well with the Brittle passive, Second Wind for the healing, and also Demolish in there so we can take towers a little bit quicker. And the sum of spells is the same as the others as well, with Flash and Ignite being the go-to. And that's everything to do with Heartsteel. Hopefully you all understand the item a little bit better, and hopefully you don't build it as a 4th or 5th item like I've been seeing players do over in solo queue. But the big thing I want you to take away with Heartsteel is build it as a tank, build it early on as a 1st or 2nd item, and make sure you take the Resolve Tree runes, or at least take Overgrowth and Grasping Undying, because these 2 runes give you extra maximum health, which will benefit Heartsteel more and more as you go on throughout the game. I'll be covering the other 2 items as well, Titanic Hydra and Spiro Shogun, very soon. So stay tuned for that one, and I'll see you all in the next Wilder video. Peace.